Paleontologists have rediscovered the biggest predator in Earth's history, an exceptionally gigantic Otodus megalodon specimen from Denmark, informally nicknamed Ragnarok. The beast was found with basking shark remains thought to be potential stomach contents, and is calculated by researchers to have reached over 24 meters long and weighed roughly 100 metric tons. Ragnarok is known from enormous preserved vertebrae that were thought to be lost. These vertebrae are described by a new study's authors as being not only the biggest shark vertebrae ever found, but possibly the biggest non-tetrapod vertebrae known from the entire fossil record. Let's break this down. Everybody knows about Otodus megalodon, the mega-toothed shark. Whether they've read about it in books, visited models in a museum, or watched it terrorize humanity in science fiction B-movies. It's the biggest, baddest shark of them all, right? Well, yeah, it totally is. There's no crazy plot twist here. Megalodon really was a gigantic whale-hunting carnivore, and the discovery of the Ragnarok specimen indicates that even some over-the-top movies may not have exaggerated its incredible body size after all. Prehistoric sci-fi flicks tend to include animals that are far larger than their real-life counterparts. Just look at the whale-sized mosasaur from Jurassic World for an extreme example of this oversizing trend. The 2018 movie The Meg had its big bad at a whopping 22.8 meters or 75 feet long, nearly twice the length of many big land predators like T-Rex and Carcharodontosaurus. Ragnarok's remains indicate that the real-life megalodon was even bigger. The Ragnarok specimen, formerly known as NHMD 157890, was originally described in 1982 by the Danish paleontologist Svend Erik Bendix Almgren. This is the same guy who spent decades researching the bizarre Paleozoic chimera Helicoprion. You know, the one with the tooth whirl thing that stumped scientists for 70 years. Bendix Almgren was the one who figured out that Helicoprion's tooth whirl belonged on its bottom jaw. But back to Megalodon. Ragnarok's vertebrae were found in the Gram Formation in Denmark, a Miocene deposit that ranged from 11.6 to 7.2 million years ago, back in 1978. Bendix Almgren took photos and measurements of the specimen in 1982 and published his findings, and thank goodness he did. The specimen was drastically damaged during a move in 1989 and was thought to be completely lost, until June 2026, when a paper by Kenshu Shimada and a full team of megalodon experts reported that part of the vertebral specimen had been recovered. Enough of Ragnarok's remains were rediscovered that the team could verify Bendix Almgren's original measurements, which had stated that the vertebrae had a stunning 23 centimeter diameter, the largest shark verts ever found. The portion of the Gram Formation that Ragnarok was discovered in dates to 10.8 million years ago and was a fairly deep marine environment, deposited more than 100 meters or 330 feet below the surface of the ocean. The giant shark didn't live by itself either. To quote the paper itself, the Gram Formation is rich in fossils. Reported invertebrates comprise foraminiferans, dinoflagellates, bryozoans, echinoids, crustaceans, and diverse mollusks, including bivalves, scaphopods, gastropods, and cephalopods. Remains of several fossil marine vertebrate groups have also been reported from the Gram Formation, including elasmobranchs, sharks and rays, actinopterygians, bony fishes, dermochilioid sea turtle, alcid birds, and marine mammals, such as pinnipeds and cetaceans. Megalodon didn't live in a vacuum, literally or metaphorically. We see a full and complex food web that sustained the titanic predator. The small invertebrates feed the small to medium sharks, turtles, and mammals, which in turn feed the megalodon. And while Megalodon's reputation as a whale hunter is fully earned, as shown by studies demonstrating bitten whale carcasses, it likely ate seals with a high degree of frequency as well. Even Megalodon had to start out as a small fry after all, and its diet would have changed considerably throughout ontogeny, or the process of growing up. New findings by Shimada's team indicate that Megalodon likely kept growing throughout its lifetime. And you know what that means. Ragnarok could have gotten even bigger had it lived for just a few years longer. As massive as the animal was, it doesn't represent the size cap for the species. After the specimen was rediscovered, Shimada's team cleaned off the 2 surviving vertebrae and remnants of other animals, carefully and painstakingly removing the siderite concretions they'd been found in so they could better study the fossils themselves. Part of that studying was using a micro-CT scanner to look at the microscopic structure of the mineralized cartilage, a process that allowed them to measure and count the growth rings within the vertebrae. Only 2 of the original 20 verts survived the 1989 move, but it was enough to make sure that they did belong to Megalodon and that they were in fact enormous. There were quite a few vertebral fragments, with one large chunk likely corresponding to part of the tail. Using their micro-CT results, the team created a growth curve for Megalodon using total length and age. What they found indicated that Ragnarok had died when it was between 60 and 70 years old. While its growth had slowed, if that rate of decrease was constant, it could have grown to as long as 28 meters, or a stunning 92 feet, which would correspond to a mass of 143 tons and potentially live to be well over 200 years old. That may seem absurd, but we have to remember that some living sharks have lifespans that make 2 centuries seem like the pocket change of mortality. Greenland sharks, a part of the sleeper shark family, have been estimated to live for up to 510 years, half a millennium. Part of me wonders if a factor behind their incredible lifespans, as well as the nickname sleeper sharks, is their usage of mantis sleep masks, the sponsors of today's video. Mantis sleep masks are 100% blackout sleep masks, designed to keep irritating light sources out from your eyes without putting any excess pressure on your skull. Their blackout cups keep your eyes protected and help your brain signal to your body that it's time to sleep, making midday naps an actual possibility. I use mine every night now, and I can't go back. The difference in quality of sleep now that I have a manta mask is astonishing, and that might sound too good to be true, but like it is true. I've used mine for weeks now, and I love it. I got the Manta Sleep Sound Mask, which comes with razor-thin Bluetooth headphones built into the sides that are perfect for listening to your relaxing music of choice as you drift off to bed. For me, that's Native American flute covers of the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, but you can listen to whatever you want. It's your mask. Use my code Vividen to save 10% off your order and sleep like a sleeper shark. Keep in mind the 28-meter and 143-ton figures for potential Ragnarok correspond to a hypothetically fully grown individual projection for what is already likely the biggest megalodon specimen ever discovered. Many megalodon individuals died before maturity or shortly after reaching maturity, and so never got a chance to even get close to this size. Ragnarok was already 24.3 meters and 94 tons at the time of death, which is roughly the mass of an Argentinosaurus, and far larger than pretty much any other preserved dinosaur. It would have had the most powerful bite of any animal on the planet during its time, with a gaping jaw tall enough for a grown human to stand in comfortably. Well, not comfortably, you'd still be inside the mouth of a giant shark, but you get the point. Why bother evolving such absurd body sizes? All the better to eat other giant sea creatures with, my dear. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, Ragnarok was discovered with the remnants of basking shark scales and gills, right around where its stomach would have been in life. Basking sharks are enormous animals in their own right, with the only living representatives, Cedorhinus maximus, at 8 to 12 meters long and weighing up to 16 tons. It's uncertain how large the cedorhinid that Ragnarok ate was, although the largest fossil basking sharks seem to have topped out around 7.5 meters long, and comparison of scale size with modern species indicate that Ragnarok's victim would have been roughly 4 meters long. Given Megalodon's own absurd size, it's not at all surprising to find evidence that it preyed on other big sharks in addition to seals and whales. A 4-meter animal as a meal is nothing to sneeze at. That's as large as a Nile crocodile, which itself is a powerful predator. Speaking of powerful predators, how does Ragnarok stack up in comparison to other apex carnivores from throughout Earth's history? Let's start with today's top dog, Orcanis orca. A typical bull orca is between 5 and 8 meters long with a common mass of 6 metric tons or 6,000 kilograms. It would take 15.6 bull orcas to weigh the same as one Ragnarok-class megalodon, which is an insane but true statement. Dunkleosteus, another famous prehistoric deathfish, was much smaller at 4 meters and 1,400 kilograms. Then we have the modern Carcharodon carcharius, or great white shark, at 4.5 meters and 1,500 kilos for a typical female. If we jump all the way back to the Cretaceous period, Tylosaurus rex measures in at up to 13.2 meters and 7.6 tons, arguably representing the largest mosasaur species. Pliosaurus funke, the largest pliosaur known, was shorter at 12 meters but much heavier at nearly 15 tons. Temnodontosaurus, a fast, stealthy parvipelvian ichthyosaur from the early Jurassic, got up to 13 meters and 13 tons. So far, none of these other prehistoric giants come close to Ragnarok class. But rivals did exist. Livyuton melvillei coexisted with Otodus megalodon, and although it's only known from a single specimen, that one individual was between 13.5 and 17.5 meters, and 26 to 57 tons, depending on which relative you scale the preserved skull from. That's a titanic predator, and its teeth were even larger than those of Megalodon. Other, even older predators had powerful biting weaponry as well, such as the late Triassic Himalayasaurus, which paired steak knife-filled jaws with a 15-meter, 30-plus ton body. But in order to reach Ragnarok sizes, you need to draw upon the arcane fragments of Ichthyotitan severnensis and its referred specimens. Ichthyotitan itself is only known from parts of the jaw that didn't preserve teeth, so we don't know if it was a raptorial macropredator like its relatives or not. But at 23 meters and 54 tons, it was comparable to a large megalodon in terms of raw body mass. The Colossus, an even bigger jaw fragment of an ichthyosaur that's likely nested within Ichthyotitan, dwarfs its formerly named relative at 30 to 34.7 meters and 118 to 180 tons when scaling up from Ichthyotitan itself. Again, no teeth, and it's a poor quality specimen, but in terms of raw size, the Colossus was very likely larger than Ragnarok. Ragnarok still takes the title of the biggest confirmed macropredator in Earth's history, however, and its hypothetical fully grown figures represent the second largest non-whale animal in the fossil record. And if that terrifying thought makes it difficult to sleep at night, remember to use my code Vividen to save 10% on your Manta Sleep Mask order. Don't let Ragnarok bully you into insomnia. Sharks are some of the most amazing animals to ever evolve on our planet, and we're lucky that such an incredible specimen was rediscovered. Usually, lost fossil giants stay lost and end up disintegrating in drawers somewhere before haunting internet forums. Now, giant megalodon exists in more than just 40-year-old photographs. Go forth. Spread the good word of giant fragmentary specimens and hypothetically fully grown estimates. Join the channel if you'd like, gaining loyalty badges at the raptor level and early access to videos at the megatheropod level. You can also check out a deep dive into why sharks have been so evolutionarily successful, or how a megalodon would survive and evolve if thrown into the deep end of the Subnautica games. I'm the Vividen, and I'll see you the next time a phantom hyperpredator returns from oblivion to reclaim its throne.